What if I told you that humans once existed? Barely over 3 feet tall? Not children, not myth from a fantasy book. Real humans, with tools, with fire, with culture. This isn't science fiction. This is a story from our own planet, a chapter of human history that will completely change how you think about who we are. It all started in 2003 on a remote Indonesian island called Flores. A team of scientists entered a limestone cave named Liang Biwa, expecting to find animal fossils, maybe the remains of ancient elephants. What they found instead? It shook the world of anthropology to its very core. Buried under layers of earth was a nearly complete human skeleton. It was an adult female. But she was impossibly small, standing at just 3 feet 6 inches tall. The world would soon come to know her and her kind by a nickname, the Hobbit humans. So where did these tiny people fit into our timeline? The evidence shows they lived on Flores between 100,000 and 50,000 years ago. Think about that. While our direct ancestors, Homo sapiens, were painting masterpieces in caves across Europe and spreading across the continents, this entirely different species of human was surviving in total isolation. They were trapped on a volcanic island, cut off from the rest of the world, with limited food and no easy way to escape. Evolution, it turns out, had some very strange plans for them. Let's really put their size into perspective. An adult Homo Floresiensis would have stood barely above the waist of an average modern human. Their entire world was viewed from a much lower vantage point. Their brain size was also shockingly small, about 1/3 the size of ours. To be precise, our brains are around 1,300 cubic centimeters. Theirs? About 400. That's about the size of a grapefruit, comparable to some of our much more ancient ancestors. And this is the part that blows everything wide open. A small brain did not mean a simple mind. This is where the story gets really interesting. To understand how they got so small, you need to understand a bizarre evolutionary rule called island dwarfism. On islands, the laws of nature get twisted. Resources are scarce and big bodies are a liability. A bigger body needs more food, more water, more everything. So, over thousands of generations, evolution plays a brutal game of efficiency. Smaller bodies that need less fuel are more likely to survive and reproduce. We've seen this happen with other animals. Even massive elephants, when isolated on islands, can shrink down to the size of a large pig. So imagine what this powerful evolutionary pressure could do to a population of humans. Evolution wasn't making them weaker. It was making them brutally efficient survivors. Now, you might think a human with a brain the size of a grapefruit would be primitive, barely capable of anything complex. You would be wrong. Despite their tiny size and small brains, Homo Floresiensis crafted sophisticated stone tools. These weren't just sharp rocks. They were carefully planned and purposefully shaped flakes and blades designed for specific tasks. They used these tools to hunt, even taking down animals that were larger than themselves. And most importantly, they controlled fire. This is not accidental, instinctual behavior. This is evidence of intelligence, planning, and culture. A small brain, but a massive impact on their world. So, wait a minute. How is that even possible? A smaller brain, but complex behavior that rivals early modern humans? This is the paradox that baffled scientists. The answer seems to lie not in the size of the brain, but in its organization. Think of it like a computer. A huge, clunky old desktop from the 90s might have a massive hard drive, but a sleek modern smartphone is infinitely more powerful with a fraction of the physical space. It's all about the software, the efficiency of the code. It seems evolution optimized the minds of Homo Floresiensis, rewiring their neural pathways to get the maximum cognitive bang for their biological buck. So how did they survive for tens of thousands of years on this isolated, dangerous island? They adapted perfectly. They became masters of their environment. They likely hunted small animals, foraged for plants, and used their tools with incredible efficiency, avoiding any wasted energy. They didn't try to dominate nature the way we do. They found a way to live in balance with it. You could argue that in their own specific context, they were better adapted to their world than we would have been. But if they were so successful, where did they go? The answer might lie in the very ground beneath their feet. Flores is a volcanic island, part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. It's a land of geological violence. Massive volcanic eruptions can reshape the landscape in an instant, destroying forests, wiping out food sources, and causing entire ecosystems to collapse. The archaeological record shows evidence of a catastrophic volcanic event around 50,000 years ago, right around the time the hobbits disappear. This may have been the beginning of their end, an apocalypse they couldn't survive. But there's another, more uncomfortable possibility. Around the same time, a new player arrived on the scene in Southeast Asia, modern humans, our own ancestors. So the question is, did we play a role in their extinction? Did we compete with them for food and territory? Did we out-hunt them or out-adapt them with our larger brains and different technologies? There's no direct proof of conflict, no smoking gun bone with a spear point in it. But history tells a disturbing story. It seems to be a pattern. Wherever Homo sapiens arrive, other human species tend to disappear. Of course, this discovery wasn't without controversy. When the findings were first announced, some scientists were skeptical. They proposed an alternative theory. What if this wasn't a new species at all? What if they were just a population of modern humans who suffered from a rare medical condition that causes small body and brain size like microcephaly? It was a plausible idea at first. But then the evidence started to pile up. Scientists found more remains from multiple individuals, all showing the same consistent, unique anatomy. Their wrist bones, their feet, their facial structure all were distinctly different from ours, pointing to a separate ancient evolutionary lineage. Today, the overwhelming scientific consensus is clear. Homo Floresiensis was a real, distinct species of human. And this discovery changes everything we thought we knew about our own story. For decades, the popular view of human evolution was a simple, linear progression. A straight line from a stooped ape man to a primitive human, and finally to us, the pinnacle of creation. That idea is completely wrong. The reality is that human evolution is not a ladder. It's a dense, branching bush. A forest filled with many different paths, many evolutionary experiments. Most of those branches were dead ends. Most of those experiments failed. And Homo Floresiensis was one of those other branches, a different way of being human. And here's the realization that really messes with your mind. They lived at the same time as us. For thousands of years, our species shared this planet with other intelligent, tool-using human species. If a few things in history had shifted just slightly if that volcano hadn't erupted, or if our ancestors had turned left instead of right, we might not be the only humans on Earth today. Imagine a world with another intelligent species, different, small, powerful in their own way. Our total dominance of this planet was never guaranteed. The most shocking truth that the Hobbit humans teach us is this: being human isn't about being big, or strong, or having the largest brain. It's about one thing: adaptation. Homo Floresiensis proves that evolution doesn't care about our ideas of greatness. It only cares about survival. And in their world, for a very long time, being smaller wasn't just an option. It was smarter. Their tiny bones, resting in a museum drawer, remind us of something incredibly powerful. The story of human evolution is not over. It is not predictable, and it is certainly not centered on us. We are just one branch on a vast and complicated tree of life. A successful branch for now. Human evolution is not a straight line. It's a forest. Thanks for watching. If you found this as fascinating as I do, consider subscribing for more journeys into the mysteries of our past.